about today's class and all that we'll get to learn. Our facilitator has been in the room since 7 o'clock, but we just had to wait a little bit to have a few of us joining. I think we can kick off now. We're about 30 in the room, and others will join us as we proceed. It's important that we make the most of the time so we can learn as much as we can to deploy into our businesses. So it's another week for driving growth for your business. I hope the last 4 weeks have been impactful for you. Over the last few weeks, we've spoken about understanding your market. Larry took us through that journey. I hope you still remember that class. After that, we spoke about understanding your audience, and we had Diola Kayode take us through that journey. From there, we went to understanding your offering. Toyin took us on that journey. And last week, we did understanding your branding with Sheon Balogun. I hope these classes are still fresh on your mind and you still remember some of these things that we are learning and already you are implementing in your businesses. The essence of this class is for us to learn and to grow and to not just for ourselves, but to also drive growth for our businesses. If our business is growing, we have the opportunity of being employers of labor. We have the opportunity of being of society improving. I like there's a research I read a few years ago that for every 1% increase in entrepreneurial activity in a nation, poverty declines by 2%. And so if you and I are taking these learnings, deploy it in our businesses and growing our businesses, we're not just bettering our own life, we are also like giving other people the opportunity to also lead better lives by working with us and also experiencing life through our lens. So this is not just for you, it's also for the different lives that are connected to yours who will be blessed as a result of your own experiences. All right, so tonight we'll just dig into it. We're talking about understanding your pricing. And this is a very sensitive topic in many ways. Should I price high? Should I price low? Should I price for the mass market? Should I price premium? Where should I price? Coke is selling 100 naira for 50 CL. Biggie is selling 100 naira for 60 CL. Where do I price? And now that we understand our market, we understand our customers, we understand our offering, we understand our brand, it's time to understand our price and how to effectively ensure that we're using our price to position in the market. We have our facilitator in the house. We have tonight Deji Olatunde. Deji is an ex-consultant. He worked with Accenture, one of the leading consulting companies around the world. And from there, he left Accenture to start his own business. And today is the founder and CEO for Photo Lighthouse, one of the leading photography studios in the country today. And I've heard him talk about this topic before. He's always very spot on, and I'm looking forward to an exciting conversation even tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, join me and make welcome Deji Olatunde as he takes us on this exciting journey to talk about understanding your pricing. Get your pen ready, get your paper ready, document your questions. It will speak for about 45 minutes, and then you will get to ask questions, practical questions that you can begin to apply into your business from today. So ladies and gentlemen, use the comment section, give a round of applause. Let's make welcome Deji Olatunde. Over to you, sir. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Awesome. All right, welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wale. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here. So, thank you very much. My name is Deji Olatunde. I'm going to be talking about pricing this evening. So basically, I'm hoping that this would be quite interactive, and I'm just going to lay it down as it is, and I would leave room for people to, maybe state examples in their businesses, and just generally participate so that we could learn from one another. All right, so I'm going to be using slides. Let me just put that up. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. What's up? Yeah. Okay, technology knows how to mess up when it's needed.
What was it saying?
And I'm coming. I'm trying to do full screen, but it's not even responding. So let me just. I'll
Okay.
just. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay.
We can see your screen.
You can see my screen. Okay, but I can't even see it here.
Oh, really? We can see it. We can see.
I'm
I
coming.
think it's not the
Wait.
first slide though. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm coming. So let me. I'm supposed to be able to see my screen, right?
Yes, you should be able to see it.
Okay, let me try again. Okay, let me go again. Okay.
You can see it now again.
You can see it now.
Yeah.
So
First slide, understanding your person. You can see it.
yeah.
Hello, did we lose you? Are you there? Hello. All right, let's just give a few minutes to have our facilitator come back on the call. I'm guessing maybe internet issues. I hope we have done our quiz for understanding your offering. If you have not, please go to the classroom, Google Classroom, to get it done. Understanding your branding should be live tonight, so get ready to see that as well. And then pricing also will follow. So please take note of that. Okay, I'll just try to reach out to the facilitator quickly. All right, I think our facilitator is back. Are you in the room? Let me try to locate him. All right, I think I found him. All right, can you hear me? We can hardly hear you though. Hello? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, you can hear me. Thank you. All right. Wale, please enable me share my screen. Let me try again.
Can you try
Hello,
now?
Wale, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you try now?
Okay, let me try again. Host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, let me try now.
Okay. Yes.
All right, cool.
Okay. Sharing a window. Okay. So, all right. I still can't see it, but I think I'll just I would.
We can see it from here, though.
Okay. Is that what's showing like on the main thing? I'm just seeing Dio's picture on screen here.
No, I can see. I can see your screen. Understanding your pricing, like a PowerPoint slide. Yeah.
PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah.
So what am I supposed to do to get to that screen? Because I can't see the presentation.
Oh, really? Okay. Let me see if there is a way to pin this. 1 second.
You know, let me call my wife. She's more conversant with these things. Sorry, please. Just give me a few minutes. Sorry. Why didn't you share my screen? I think. It started. Let me stop the share. So I'm trying to share my screen, but I can't see it's been shared. So this is it. So it was sharing, but I can't see it on my own. But I want from yeah. Go.
I think you just have to go to the.
To one.
Where is the app itself?
The app.
Any luck?
All right, so I think I'm not going to be able to see the comments, or maybe I'll be coming back to the screen. I'll have to use the original PowerPoint screen. Sorry, I let my son in. He followed his mom. Sorry, he followed his mom. All right, so I think I'll just go ahead. I'm going to be using the PowerPoint screen. Then from time to time, I'll come back and see what's happening on. All right. So please, at least I'll need somebody to be giving me feedback to be sure that I have not been disconnected or I'm not off. All right?
Not a problem.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Deji Olatunde is my name. Today we're going to be talking about pricing. I'm hoping that it's going to be practical and interactive. So please feel free to ask your questions. I have a bit of a challenge. I can't see your questions as you're dropping them. So maybe after taking some slides, I would come back. All right, so the topic is understanding your pricing, and this is what we're going to be discussing tonight. We're going to be looking at pricing and what it really is. We'll look at it as one of the 4 P's of marketing. Then we'll talk about pricing strategies. We'll talk very, very briefly on understanding costing, and then we'll open it up for discussions and questions. All right. So my objective for this training would be for us to understand the fundamentals of pricing and the role it plays in our business success, and to know the pricing options that are available so that we can explore them. I'm sure many of us may have experienced them in different times and in different ways, but we're not even aware that that is what is going on. So I'm hopeful that by the time we're done with this this discussion, when we go and those things are being used on us, we'll understand what is happening, and it will enable us, make better decisions. All right. So let me just start by asking, what is pricing? What is pricing? Is there anybody who wants to give us pricing, what they understand by pricing from their own perspective? Hello?
Hello.
Do you want people to be able to
Okay.
unmute?
Yeah, they can raise their hands. Maybe you'll be with us now, so they can raise their hands and you can unmute them to speak.
Okay. All right. Mr. Uba,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Okay, pricing, from my own understanding, is the cost you put to either the product or service that you provide. That's my own understanding of pricing.
Okay, thank you. It's in line, but it's a bit broader than that, but that is very in line. Okay. Bumi Omojoko says pricing is placing a monetary value on your product or service. Okay. Yes, that is correct. The tendency most times is to confuse costing, pricing. There's a big difference between the two, and it's important that we understand that difference, because I realize that most times as entrepreneurs, particularly for those who run small businesses, most times we treat pricing as if it is costing, and because of that, we explore all the possibilities that are there and all the value that we can possibly extract, from our goods or service. Okay, Travis says that pricing is a measure of the value of your offering. It's a measure of the value of your offering. Okay, if I want to go, scientific with my magnifying glass, that is not completely correct, and we'll see that, because sometimes, some people enter, for instance, OPay, they entered into the market and they brought their prices low. The value they were charging was less. We knew very well. I mean, sometimes they wouldn't give you money back in the process. It was almost as if they were paying you to use them. So would we say at that point that the value of their product was zero or negative? No, but that was their own pricing strategy. That was the strategy that they used to come into the market with the hope of achieving their objectives. So I'll just go on. So based on the things I've said so far, thank you for your contributions. Based on the things that I've said so far, it is easy to see that pricing is beyond just your costing. For many of us, I mean, if I ask us, how do we price our products? Many of us would say, in short, I would ask. But let me quickly go on. So pricing is the process whereby a business sets the price at which it will sell its products and services. And most times it is part of the business's marketing plan. It's not just set in isolation. It is set as part of a bigger strategy, right? It's set as part of a bigger strategy. So as we know, we'll be looking at later the 4 P's of marketing. Everything works together to make it successful, and pricing is just a part of it. So in setting the prices, the business will have to take into account the price at which it could acquire the goods, So note that it didn't say at which it acquired the goods. It says at which it could acquire the goods. Why? Because if you base your pricing just on what you are acquiring today, then COVID hits and prices of things increase. It means that your price would have to increase, or they devalue the naira. And with every devaluation, or with every time you go to the market and there's a price increase, you would have to continually increase the cost of your goods, which is not very good. So when you're doing your pricing, you're supposed to look at not just what is available now, but also make projections for the future based on historical trends, right? So it says the price at which it could acquire the goods, the manufacturing cost, how much it takes you to manufacture that good or product, how much it takes you to offer a particular service, the marketplace in which you're going to be selling it. So you can't take a luxury item. You can't go and be selling Gucci bags in a place like maybe like Agege, for instance, where the people who live there are mainly, small business owners and civil servants and people who work in companies, right? So you have to consider the marketplace. If you're going to cite a luxury store, most likely you cite it in Lekki, in Ikoyi, or VI, or maybe some parts like GRA in Ikeja. So you have to consider the marketplace. You have to consider what the competition is doing. If you can't come into the pure water business now and decide you want to sell your own sachet of pure water for 10 naira, it's not going to work. What is the prevailing rate in the market? So you have to take all those things into consideration. The market condition. So are there some key players? If they cough, will everybody catch a cold? You understand? You have to consider all those things. You have to consider how strong your brand is and the quality of the product. When you're costing, the quality of your product should at least match your pricing. So if we look at like the Gucci's, when you check out their products, you see that their products are very durable. If you have a Gucci bag and you buy a 5K bag from the market, most likely you will have used like 10 or 15 or even 20 of those 5K bags before the Gucci bag begins to even show sign of wear and tear. So the quality of your product matters. So all those things you need to take into consideration when you are setting your prices. So prices should not just be valued on how much the customer is willing to pay, but on how they value the goods and the service that you are offering. The mistake that we make most times is that sometimes we think, okay, people generally, this is how much this product goes for in the market. So let me just put my own at this or a bit lower, but you'll be surprised that people might be willing to pay much, much more. And if that happens, you're going to be leaving a lot of money on the table because you could have extracted more value from it. I'm sure there are some of us here who, based on the quality of the service or the good that we sell, when we tell the client the price is like, okay, that's fine. Send an invoice. And then we begin to hit ourselves like, hey, I should have charged more. If there's anybody who can relate with that, please, can I see your hand? Or just type, yes, I can relate, in the chat section. Okay, yeah, okay, totally, yes, beautiful. So I'm hopeful that by the time we are done, we would have an understanding of how to gauge these things, and know how to fix our price, and the prices for our goods and our services, right? So, so yeah, quick questions. I'm going to ask these questions and I'll go back to answer them. Do you run a business? I don't know if it's safe to assume that everybody in this training runs a business. Yeah? Does everybody that is attending, we all run businesses?
Yeah,
okay.
For the most part, yes.
Okay, beautiful. Beautiful, thank you. So at what point did you set your prices? At what point did you set your prices? If you're like me, an accidental entrepreneur, well, not fully accidental, but the way it happened, it wasn't something that I planned. I set my prices as I went along. But for those of us who are probably not just in the service business, it's important that all those things are clear at the point of planning for the business. When you're doing your business plan to check out whether your business is going to be viable or not, it's important that you have an idea of your pricing. So that will give you an idea of what you're working towards, how long it's going to take you to break even, whether you would need to acquire a loan to support your operations or not. So many of, okay, sorry, I'm looking through the, okay, somebody says he's a distributor, so he follows company guidelines. Okay, so like that one, they've already done all the hard lifting for you. They've done all the work, all the strategy and everything, and they've handed it over to you. So I think yours is very, very easy. Pricing is something that gives a lot of people sleepless nights. There are many people who, when they receive phone calls of customers calling them, their minds will spoil. When your heart sinks and your belly begins to mix together, because it's going to be negotiations. They're going to be asking you questions. You're going to have to fix. If you're in an industry like mine, where no two jobs are the same. So I'll give you an example. Somebody calls and says, I want you to cover an event for me. And you say, okay, when is it happening? It's happening on so date. Where is it happening? It's happening in Ibadan, right? I'm going to have 20 guests. We're going to be discussing strategy all day long. I need you to do video and photography. So you now start thinking, if that person calls you and says, I have an event, I'm expecting 2,000 people. It's going to be 2 hours and it's happening in Lagos, in VI specifically. You can't charge both of them the same. Why? Because one, you're going to have to travel. If the event is going to start 8 o'clock or let's say 9 o'clock in Ibadan, it might be risky for you to travel that morning. Because if a tanker falls on the road, then you're not going to be able to get there. So you want to get there a day before, right? When you finish, if you finish late, you might not want to travel that same evening carrying expensive equipment because you might get robbed and you lose everything. So you want to travel the next day after the event. So effectively, you've used like 3 days. Now there are just 20 people. So one videographer, one photographer is effective. You can use them to cover the event and to be beautiful, right? But the Lagos event is happening just for 2 hours and there are 2,000 people. For 2,000 people, you will need at least 5 to 6 photographers and maybe 3 videographers covering that event, right? So in such a situation now, how do you charge? What do you charge? How do you balance it up? It becomes difficult, right? Because the variables are very plenty. So in such a situation, most likely anytime you receive a phone call, if you have not defined your pricing, it will be a nightmare to you because you have to start racking your brain and trying to see how you can convince a client. Now that was my personal story, and that took me to going to actually study this thing to see, okay, so what's the best way that I can charge? So we'll be looking at those various ways, Now, for those of us who have set prices, how have our prices helped or hurt our businesses? I want somebody to actually unmute their mic and share with us. Based on your experience so far, on your pricing, how has it helped or hurt your business? Okay, please go ahead. Hello? Anybody, just put up your hand while you would unmute your mic.
Can I speak?
Yes, please, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Like you, I dabble into photography a bit too. Respect, bros.
My
Okay, so
professional
let's say
colleague. I can't hear you.
and we negotiated and we agreed. Hello,
Okay,
can you
we
hear
can hear
me?
you now. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, there's a 4-day event and I've been called in to take care of just photography, not video. Okay.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
I give a cost, and on day one, I forget to set my camera properly. So the shots, the quality of the shots are not as good. And then I make the same mistake on the 4th day. So at the end of the job, I was able to cover every salient part of the job. And at the end of the day, oh, we love your album. But when it's okay, give us the rushes, the soft copies for internet use, we now find out there is a problem. Okay, so it hurt my business because I wasn't very careful. I was in a rush to try and meet up. Can you hear me?
Someone says they can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I don't know
Okay,
if
so
others can.
I'll
Just
go on
type
if
in
you
if you
can
can
hear
hear
me.
him clearly. Yes, but Mr. Ben, let me like direct you. I'm talking of in terms of the pricing. Pricing.
That's what I'm
How
coming
is it?
to.
Okay. Okay.
I'm coming to. I just explained how the pricing. I give a cost based
Okay.
on quality production. That I'm going to give you
Okay.
standard pictures and all. And at the end of the day,
Okay.
I defaulted on the 1 and day 5. So it hurt me because what I planned, I could not deliver. Because of the first and the last days. But the other days were good. The album was good, but the picture quality in terms of online use was not as good. So
Okay.
the way I planned it, it hurt me because I couldn't deliver on quality that I had promised for the
Okay.
price that I gave. Okay, so that's what
Okay.
happened.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think for those kind of things, in terms of pricing, it's good you structure it in such a way that it's a win-win. So even if anything happens, you don't get to lose completely. We'll look at that briefly when we're talking about, when you're coming up with your product or your service under the 4 P's of marketing. Thank you, Mr. Ben. Is there anybody else who wants to quickly share?
Hi. Can I say something?
Please go ahead.
Well,
Yes, please.
I do a little real estate, and what I do is to present my properties a little bit with extras, actually, yes, to mention.
Okay,
So,
please can you move closer to your microphone so we can hear you
oh,
clearer?
sorry.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So I was just saying, I one of those things I do is real estate, and to put a potential customers to view the what we have on offer, we get some very detailed photograph to highlight uh, the things that are on offer. So everything is
Okay.
presented very well. So that when you're going through and looking online, it's so attractive. Then I highlight the things that are there. So if the property has a swimming pool, it's highlighted. If it's 24 hours electricity, it's highlighted. Things that you would expect, but now vividly shown. Then the price is slightly raised higher.
But vegetable.
And with that, what I've noticed it does, is that it kind of separates the potential customers, if you know.
Okay.
So it's as if I take a certain class of clients that come to view,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's from those clients that one of them would I'll just do an elimination process based on affordability tests, and I'll decide on one. But by slightly raising the costs above the market rate, I find out that I'm able to sift. So instead of having 100 people viewing, I may have the 20, maybe higher income band, if you get what I mean, kind of thing that can afford
Okay.
it, and that
Yeah.
helps me in the elimination process. So I don't have to sift down the 100 people. I just need to sift the 20 that will view.
Okay.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Thank you. Can you still hear me? My video is freezing. I don't know. Can you see me or can you hear me? If you can't,
We
please.
can see you.
We can hear you.
Okay, but can you see me? Because it's
No,
freezing on my own
like
screen.
your video is, it's like your video
No, we're
is.
seeing your screen.
Okay, let me come on. Okay, I don't know. It's not doing. But anyway, I'll go on. So yeah. So back to the presentation. So yes, like we have seen from Mr. John's example, he increased his price beyond what is obtainable. And based on that, he was able to narrow down on the kind of people that he attracts. Because assuming he had done general rates, those same people who are talking to him might be talking to 20 other people. And they'll go and do inspections with him. And at the end of the day, they won't go with him. So he's wasted time and he's wasted transportation. But by increasing it just slightly above what is obtainable, many people are like, why should I go with this guy when this one is this rate? And because of that, he now saves money and saves energy and stress. He saves himself of getting stressed because of that. So those are ways that we can use pricing creatively to help us ensure profitability and help us ensure that our business achieves the set objectives. So let's move on. So now we're going to look at the 4 P's of marketing. We're not going to look at them in details. I'm sure Wale, has that already been treated?
Yeah, I mean, we've done understanding
Yes.
your offering.
Okay.
So
okay.
basically, yeah, I think we've only done
Okay.
products. Next week, we're talking about place.
Okay. Okay, fine. So I'll just look at it very, very briefly because we can't talk about pricing without, touching on that. So products, I'm sure, basically, if you remember what you learned last when you did it, you'll be answering questions like, what products are you selling? What will be the features of, such product or service? What kind of variety would you provide? Is it going to be a single product or are you going to have various things, different colors, shapes, sizes, that? I remember, was it Ford? He says that they were asking him, do you make different colors of your car? He says, yes, different colors as long as they are all black. So basically his own was, it has to be black. But other people came and said doing variety and all that, and I think eventually they had to change. So how do you want to position your product? Do you want to position it as a product, as a masses product, or what? Is it going to be a peak milk? Is it going to be a 3 Crowns milk? Which one is it going to be? What kind of packaging will you use? There are some products that the packaging is so that you can't demand for a higher price on that thing because of perception already is that this is cheap. But that same product, if the packaging is changed, you can demand much more for it. So if it's a service, how do you intend to structure it? What experience do you intend to build around it? Are you going to give guarantees or warranties? Can people return to you after purchase? So under products, these are all the questions that you're going to be answering. So the next one is pricing. So under pricing, you answer questions like how much are you going to demand in return for your goods or service in the short, medium, and long run. It doesn't have to be a fixed price all through. As we'll be seeing, we'll see that it's possible for you to vary these prices. And how will the price help us, how will the price we set help us achieve our marketing objective? How will it help us to achieve our goal as an organization? And how flexible can we be with the pricing? Is it going to be something that is fixed? Is it going to be something that you will give discounts based on the volume, or what? How flexible is it going to be? And what incentives are we willing to give to our buyers or resellers in terms of discounts, in terms of rebates? Are we going to do a referral? So under pricing, those are the kind of questions that we should be able to answer. Then we have the place. The place answers the questions of how will our customers access our goods or our service. So where are we going to be stocking? How many markets are we going to be playing in? What locations are we stocking in these markets? So yes, you're going to play in Lagos, and in Lagos you're going to play in Lekki. Where are you going to play in Lekki? So for instance, I work with some brands. One of them is Carolina Herrera. They have a premium product. One tiny, is it 20 ml or so, perfume bottle goes for about 130K. And they only stock in, I understand, is it like 30 locations around the world. And Lagos in the Palms was one of the locations. They stocked in a Senza there, right? So you determine where exactly are you going to be stocking. How do you distribute to these locations? How much inventory are you going to keep? How can you store this inventory properly and transport them safely, as the need arises? So that has to do with place and promotions. You answer questions of how you'd ensure that your products or services are in the face of the people who you intend to use them. So you're looking at what method are you going to use to communicate to your customer? Is it going to be through advertising? Is it going to be, what method are you going to use to communicate to them? You're looking at, is it going to be through, are you doing advertising or radio jingles or what? You have to determine that. Then are you going to go directly? Like you see, sometimes you go to the mall and you see people, they'll call you, please come and try out this perfume. It's from this one, that one, they'll spray it on your body. Do you like it? It's on sales now. If you buy it now, you get it back and all that kind of stuff. So do you want to do auctions or do you want to do PR where you pay people, put out, pre-arranged information about the product? So what medium are you going to use? What are you telling them and how are you telling them, right? So there are some products you will never hear to be advertised in broken English. So for instance, you will never hear them advertise a Benz in pidgin English, but you hear a Glow recharge card being advertised in pidgin because of the target market. So how frequently will you tell them? Is it going to be something that is going to run all year, or are you just going to focus a particular time and all that? So there are other P's like people, process, physical evidence, but for the purpose of this discussion, we're just going to stick to, we're not going to look beyond those four, which are the four original traditional ones. So right now we're going to go into, right now we're going to go into the pricing strategies. So like we said earlier, pricing strategies, they are used, they are like the basis upon which prices are set. So in doing this, you have to have an intention. What is your intention for setting your price? Many of us, we look at how much does it cost me and we add on top of it and we are good. But you will notice companies like Coca-Cola, for instance, is sugar and water. The sugar that is in that bottle, if you calculate the cost per unit, I'm sure it is in, maybe it's not even up to 1 naira or 2 naira. Do you understand? The cost might be very, very low. But because of where they are targeting and the kind of way they want to be perceived in the market, they are pricing at 100 naira so that they can have money to sponsor football. They can have money to do adverts and do competitions and do CSR projects in various parts of the world. So their pricing takes into consideration all those things. So it's not just setting price and putting a margin, which I find out a lot of us do. We buy something, we add a price to it, we add a margin to it, we sell and we are happy. But what is the bigger picture? So is it are we pricing for profitability? We just want to make that extra box on top of it. Are we pricing to gain market share? So for instance, like I said, OPay came in and they just crashed the price of everything, did it at a very low price, and they were gaining, everybody was using them, and people were forgetting about the Max and the what are the other Okada companies, the regular Okada guys and all, and people are beginning to use OPay. They are gaining market share. So do you price to defend your market share? So you've gotten into the market, let's say you had a first mover advantage, and then you hear that OPay is coming, and you know that OPay, these people, they can't price below a certain amount. You now decide to go and price just a little bit below what they can afford so that you maintain your market share. You know, are you pricing to manage perception of your products? So for instance, as a photographer, everybody is charging maybe 20K per hour for a shoot or for a studio session, and I decide to charge 100K. When somebody hears that, they'll be like, Shebi that man is doing 20K. Why is he doing 100K? I beg, no, not big man, not for big men be that. So if I do that, I am trying to make people feel that, okay, this is a premium service and it's only a certain kind of people that use it. So if those kind of people see it, they will be attracted, or the people who are not there yet might be aspirational and say, okay, let me save up so that I can go and do this photo shoot with this guy. So to manage perception, for market penetration, for you to be able to come in and take the market, you know, increase your reach within a short period of time. You can also price to build cost. Okay, please can we mute our microphones? Yeah, so.
Go and eat your food now.
Okay. All right, so it might be to, sorry, please, Wale, please could you help me mute that mic? So it could also be to, okay, it could also be to manage, you know, brand loyalty. So we'll be looking at pricing strategies where customers get to fix the price. And in such situations, the goal is, okay, you know, to build brand loyalty. But I'm looking at questions here now, so I'll just quickly touch on them. Dupe says, please, at what time do we set price? Is it before we start the business or as we move into the business? It's best we set the price before we start the business, at least to be able to help us make our projections and see what is possible. Then, as we go along, we now adjust things based on the reality that is on ground. You know, because imagine if you're going into a business where you have to, you know, invest in equipment, and you finish investing in equipment and you spend millions of naira, then you now try to set price and they tell you in this market. So for instance, let's say pure water, where it's 5 naira per sachet, you can't go beyond 5 naira. And you finish investing in UV something and one ceiling something and plenty, you know, industrialized equipment. And you want to put your own pure water at 15 naira and they tell you, bros, no matter how you do them, as long as it's pure water, it can't be more than 5 naira. You probably will get discouraged and it would, you know, your business will crash. So it's good you do all those things at the stage where you are planning your business, where you're doing your business plan. And just like we said, pricing is not just based on cost plus a margin. It's broader than that. And so you have to take all those things into consideration, which would even guide the way you enter into the market. All right. So can we see the pricing screen again? I don't know if, is that the definition? Travis Nahioma, just answer. So if it is, I will come back to it. All right, so let me go back to the presentation so we can progress. All right, so pricing strategy. The first we'll be looking at is competition-based pricing. So this is one thing that most of us do. We come into a market and we say, how much are makeup artists charging? They're charging 10K. Okay, so me too, I will charge 10K. We don't do all our homework and everything. We just charge based on how much everybody is charging. Now, for some industries, you don't have a choice. You have to go competition based. You understand? Because for markets that are saturated, where the barriers to entry are very low, where there is like an unspoken normal price. You can't afford to charge more. If you do, significantly more people might not patronize you. So for instance, like I said, pure water, right? And in such in such a market, so for instance, if you're selling pure water in Balogo market, nobody cares the brand of your pure water. As long as they don't see particles inside, it is 5 naira and they will pay for it. If you now come and still put it inside sachet and you now come and say your own is 7 naira or 10 naira, people will not buy, right? But there are some other products that you can charge slightly higher for or slightly less, depending on what you are comfortable with, and you will still get customers, to patronize you. So you can just make a little bit of tweaks. You can either make your packaging better in such situations or make the quantity a bit more, and then you charge a disproportionate amount more, So you value add. So in such situations, many times people just look at what their competitors are charging, and they charge the same thing, right? So it could be for products that are physical or digital, or even events. So for instance, for people who do trainings, there are certain amounts that trainings go for. So if you're doing maybe presentation skills and all that, remember it was like 30, 40K. So when people are going to charge, most times they charge because it's the same presentation skills that you're teaching, the same concepts and all that. So most times people just do at that same, but you're able to charge a premium if you're able to add value and differentiate from your customers. So for instance, in the trainings generally, maybe people just give Mr. Big packs. But in your own training, you decide that you're going to get a caterer and do a buffet where people can eat as much as they want. Just because of that single fact, you are able to increase your training by much, maybe by 10,000, 20,000 more, right? Meanwhile, the cost of that you're spending in getting that buffet may not be that proportional. Or you can change your venue, So those are ways that you can easily differentiate yourself from the competition if you feel that you are stuck in a hole, based on that. So there's the cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing is the one that most of us use, that we are familiar with. So basically what we do is we get how much it costs us to, offer that service, and we add something on top of it. Sometimes it might be a percentage markup, or it might be a fixed amount that we add on top of it. And because of that, it's also called like markup pricing. So many people who do this are like your market women and people who are involved in buying and selling. So you go to Balogun, you buy certain things, you add price on top of it, you make a profit and you turn it over and you keep building till, So that's like another option that is very, very common. Now, I would say that these pricing strategies, there is none that is completely good or completely bad. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. So as we go through them, it's for you to think and see which one makes sense for me to use. And I will state it now, even though I'll be re-emphasizing it later, that you don't have to just use one of these things. It's good you have an understanding of what is available and see what suits your business per time. Okay? All right. Let me just quickly check. If you have questions, please feel free, or comments, just feel free to type them in so that I also know that I am not just talking to, the screen. All right. So the next, okay, beautiful. Thank you. So the next one we'll be looking at is freemium. This one is very common to people who, offer like subscription, services. So we have, for instance, there is Google service. So you have the Gmail account, which is free. You open that and you use and you enjoy and all that stuff. But there's also the premium one where you get to pay for it on a monthly or annual basis, right? So there's YouTube ad, for instance, there's YouTube, the normal YouTube, and there's YouTube Premium. So many of us, we watch YouTube for our trainings, for music and all that. But it's very, very annoying when you are listening to a music and just at the point where you get to that point where you crescendo, then an ad just comes and breaks it. So yes, YouTube is free. You're not paying anything for it. But when that keeps happening and happening, for me, I mean, like when I'm doing my studio sessions, I just go on to YouTube and I play music. But it's always very annoying when the client is enjoying themselves, then you just hear, pay, today, bro, they do this one, oh, make one come. You're like, oh my God, what is this? Then YouTube came up with YouTube Premium. Pay a token amount, I think maybe 1K5 per year, and you won't have any of those ads playing. I don't know if it's per year or per month, I don't know, but you won't have any of those ads playing. So you can watch a movie on YouTube from beginning to end, or listen to a song from beginning to end without that. Of course, you subscribe to it because you gain value from YouTube. So freemium is that they give you small to taste. All right, taste it, you enjoy it, and they say, come on, there's even better version. All you just need to do is pay this amount and you will get access to the full thing. So there is that, and there's also, you know, some other ways that people do it. So for instance, Google tells you you have Google Photos where you can upload your pictures. It is free, up to 15 gigabytes. So you start snapping picture, videos, you're uploading, then one day it gets full. Then what happens? They tell you, you can increase your storage to 30 gig just at 800 naira for a year. And you're like, oh, really? Okay, it's just 800 naira. And you pay. Then you keep snapping. Then it gets full. And they say, well, you can increase it to 100 gig at 3K per year. And you keep snapping, then, do you understand? So gradually they've locked you in. And you don't have a choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to go now and go and delete your pictures? You don't even have that time. Or your mail, you keep receiving mails and attachments, then it gets full. Are you going to delete them? No. Most likely you just buy the storage. It's just small. But before you know it, you get hooked on. So that's the freemium service. A lot of people do that. They do free trials. So you have access to the full thing. So like, I'm sure many of us have seen the masterclass.com advert, where they'll tell you, okay, masterclass from the world's greats, this one, they'll bring in all different kinds of people, Samuel L. Jackson teaching training, and Lebrovic teaching photography and all that kind of stuff, you know. So recently, I saw the ad, I clicked on it, and they said, enjoy free for 24 hours. So you have access to all the trainings for 24 hours. And by the time you click on this one, you click on that one, and you see all the goodies that is there for you after the 24 hours and they shut you out, the tendency is that, you look and say, how much is this thing? It's just $180 or so. You know what? Let me just do it. And you do. So that's freemium. So that's how that operates. So for those people in the tech space or people who offer subscription-based services, you know, that might be something that you might want to consider. We have the hourly rates where price is fixed based on a standard measure of time. So it could be, you can do it per hour, you can do it per day, you can do it per week, you can do it per month, you know, but it's based on time that you give. So they are paying for your time. They are getting your service, or you're giving them your time in exchange for your money. Now, I was watching a video somewhere, and somebody says that if you exchange time for money, you know, that it's a dangerous business model. And it succinctly puts it, because you only have so many hours in a day. You can't work more than 24 hours in a day. And that is not even possible because it's not sustainable. So effectively, you might be working maybe 14 hours, 15 hours in a day, right? So automatically that puts a cap on how much you can earn. But sometimes it's the only way you can price. So for instance, in the example I gave, photographer where you have to be in Ibadan to cover 20 people, and you have to be in Lagos, which is close to you, where you don't even have to spend transport money to go to the venue, you know, and they have 2,000 people. The best way to charge for that, which is what I eventually arrived at, is this hourly based charge. So if I'm covering 10 people, I'm covering 1,000 people, it is still the same amount of effort that I would put in. It is still the same amount of time that I'm going to put in. It's still the same camera I'm going to use. If I'm supposed to transport to the location for one person, to cover one person, it's the same transportation I'm going to do to that same location for 10 people. So I decided, you know what will work for me? I'll do the hourly rates. So if I'm covering your event, for instance, I will charge 30K per hour. So if it's 2,000 people that I'm covering and I need 6 people, I will charge 30K per hour for 6 people. If you want me there for 2 hours, it will be 30K per hour times 2 hours times 6 people. If you want me to go to Ibadan, how long am I going to be there for? I'm going to be there for a whole day. I'm going to do travel time and all that. I might discount the travel time since I am not paying, but the fact you're taking me out of my station, I would calculate all that and multiply it by my hourly rate. So it may be more expensive to actually cover a full day event in Ibadan than to do with 20 people than to do one man, event in Lagos. By the time all those things are taken into consideration, but it is a fair base. At least your customers will not argue with you. They will believe that it is fair. So who are the people that use this? People who are service-based providers. So freelancers, your contractors, consultants, most times they charge based on the hour. So the only thing that you can do if you're stuck with the hourly rate is to increase your value so that the amount you charge per hour can be high. That way, at least your earnings will be higher. But if you are stuck in an industry where there is a fixed rate that they charge per hour, then you're screwed. You will just have to look for a way to differentiate yourself and charge, so that you can charge a premium. And one sure way to do that, which we have learned, is by branding. So in photography, we have T.Y. Bello. T.Y. Bello, I understand she charges for one of her shoots is like a minimum is ₦1 million, right? And that's because she has been able to brand herself. Most photographers can't even charge that amount, when you're working for a full day. But hers, maybe for a 2-3 hour shoot, she charges you $1 million and she maybe gives you 10 pictures. You get? So the way you can differentiate yourself in an industry where there's a fixed rate for the hourly charge is by, branding yourself. All right. So, all right. I'm just looking at what we have here. Okay. I don't know, for some funny reason, my camera is freezing. Okay, all right, so any questions so far? Any questions so far? Any reactions?
We're following, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll just go on. All right. So the next one we'll be looking at is time-sensitive pricing. So for those of us who sell perishable goods, so for instance, if you go to the market, people who sell fruits or vegetables or things like tomatoes and all that stuff, when the tomato comes and it is fresh and hard, you sell based on the fact that this is a very nice looking juicy tomato. You can command a premium for that tomato. But as the days begin to go by, or vegetables, when the leaves are still green, and everything is still standing, they can charge a premium for that. But as the day begins to go by and it begins to denature, the tomatoes begin to get soft. The bananas begin to get yellow, then from yellow it begins to turn black. The amount you can charge for those things begins to vary. So what some people do is, when the thing is still fresh and looking nice, they'll charge a premium for it, so that even if they are not able to sell everything by the end of the day, they are able to at least recover their money. So as it begins to get from being sturdy and fresh, it begins to get stale, the price begins to go down. So some people, you can play with that pricing strategy. When it's high, as it begins to do, you go low. But it has its advantages and its disadvantage. So for instance, if I know that that's what happens, I will go to the market in the evening time when I know that the vegetables have begun to wither, so that I'll get it at a low price. So you might find out throughout the day, morning, you won't get anything. Nobody, no customers. But towards evening, when they know that, okay, you are desperate to sell because you can't go home with your vegetables, that's when they flood the market. And you know Nigerians are very smart. So another way to treat that might be, you can just decide, I'm going to sell it at this rate, and that is not premium, but maybe an average rate, and that's the amount I'm going to sell it throughout from the beginning to the end. So that way, people don't have to wait till evening. They know that, come on, if I want fresh, it's better I go early to get it, and that way, you know, it guarantees that you sell off your stuff. And we also notice that in supermarkets, you see goods that they'll pack towards the front of the supermarket and tell you this amount, get it at that amount. When you check it, you see that the expiry date, maybe they're expiring in a month. So maybe towards 1 month, they might reduce it by 10%. When it's 2 weeks to it, they might have reduced it by 50%. 2 days before it's reduced, they might reduce it by 80%. You know, just trying to get rid of it. So that's time-sensitive pricing. So like I said, things that have a limited shelf life, things like vegetables, flowers, fruits, all right? Then there's time-based pricing. This time-based pricing is what we find out that airline people do. So you have, if you buy your ticket way ahead of time, it's cheap. But as the date begins to get closer, the price begins to climb. If you go and buy at the counter, on the day traveling, you might buy your ticket at double the rate that somebody else who bought it weeks in advance bought it. You know, so it's for us to understand that, you know, that this is how it works. So if you can plan ahead, it will pay you. So it has its advantages and disadvantages. It's normally done for things that they know are in high demand. So for instance, Lagos-Abuja flights on Mondays and Fridays, they would always sell out. Always, the first flight will always sell out. So if you put it at cheap, as the day begins to go, you keep increasing the price and increasing the price. You know that know how you will sell because people will always want to travel. So also for games, maybe Super Eagles is playing with, I don't know, I'm not a football fan, but maybe Arsenal, don't crucify me, I don't know what's going on, but Arsenal is playing Manchester in Lagos Stadium. People will buy way ahead of time, but on that day, you might find people selling the ticket at times 20 the price. Why? Because the time is near, there's a scarcity that has been created, everybody wants to get in, you know, and people are able to cash in on that. For some people, they're not just opportunists, but that is how they roll. So on the same plane, you might find somebody paying the price for that somebody in business class paid when the price was low for him to get in economy. It's based on this time-based model. There's something called skimming. Skimming is like what happened to us when GSM came around. How many of us can remember where one SIM card was going for, I think, 50,000 or so? If you can relate or remember, please just indicate. One SIM card was going for 50,000 naira. As a matter of fact, you know, it was a thing of pride, you know, to get a SIM card. Meanwhile, SIM cards now, how much? 500 naira, 200, or how much is it? You know, so it's a good strategy, but it's also a bad strategy, and I'll tell you why. It's a good strategy when, okay, somebody says he got 64K. He bought his own for 64K, right? He was using Econet. Some people, okay, so SIM card is now 100 naira. Okay, they say it's even free, that you get it for free, right? Now, when you're coming into the market, particularly when it's a novel good, when it has not been there before. Imagine telephones then, Blueface. Can you remember Blueface? Is it Blueface or Blue Eye? I think it's Blueface. Samsung. Monochrome, this thing with polyphonic ringtone. Was going for how much? Maybe 70K, 80K at that point in time. Meanwhile, today, with all the inflation that has happened, a dual SIM with Wi-Fi, colored screen, everything, all that, some of them are not even going for that price. So what was happening there? They were scheming. They came into the market and they did a high price. And what is the goal of this? Because for such products, the cost of investing into putting up your masks and everything and all is very, very high. So if it's a novel product coming, hits the market with a high price, creates that hype, let everybody come so that you can recover your money. So once you do that, you're able to recover your costs very quickly before other people begin to come in. So most times you're only able to scheme if you're either bringing in a new product or you're doing the first mover advantage, right? You charge a premium, then as it becomes commonly available, you now begin to bring down your price. Now, it's good when you have when you're the company that has a head start, but for those of us who bought Econet at 50K, 64K, and shortly afterwards, when other people came in, your SIM card that you bought for 60K, somebody bought it for 5K, how would you feel? You know, how do you feel? You wanted to be the first to carry the phone. Yes, you are the first, but now you saw that you wasted 55K. And we're talking about how many years? Almost 16 years ago. The value of 55K then, you can't compare it to what it is now. You know, so for such people, they might get angry and they will decide, you know what, I don't know which one was first. I think it was MTN that was first, right? MTN is deceitful. You know what? Nah, I'm not doing. You port and go to Glo. You dump the MTN SIM card and go to Glo. So yes, they've won your 50K, but they have lost your 50,000 K, 50,000 naira that you will have used to do recharge because you felt that they used your head and they were deceitful. So if you're going to apply that, you have to be very careful how you go about it so that people don't feel pained. When they came in, remember it was per minute billing. So you say hello and the phone cuts. They charge you, how much was it then? Is it 16 naira per minute? Hello, please can I? And it cuts another 16 naira. Hello, it cuts another 16 naira. So before you know it, you've spent 600 naira and you've not even been able to get your message across. Then somebody came and said, you know what, we ain't doing per minute, we're doing per second, right? And based on that per second, everything crashed. So imagine how much the per minute guys made before per second came to our rescue. You get, so that is price scheme. And trust me, a lot of people left the per minute and went to per second at that point in time and they never returned back, you know. So that is scheming. So you can do that when you are using a new product. Wale, sorry, how are we doing with time? I'm kind of lost.
We should be in question and answer by now.
Jesus.
I don't know how many more slides you have.
Okay. Okay, not too many. Maybe like we just have like maybe 5 more so to talk about. Okay, so we'll move on quickly. There's the penetration pricing. Penetration pricing is like the reverse of scheming. In penetration pricing, you enter low so that you can, you know, penetrate the market, you know, get a lot of people using your products within a short period of time. So what is the goal? The goal is either to gain as much market share as possible. Why? Because maybe you have wind that your competitor is about to hit the market too. So you want to get in there and gain grounds before they come in. Or they're already playing and you want to come and take market share from them. So what do? Like OPay, you reduce the price and go inside. A lot of people begin to use you. So after people have used you and they've gained your loyalty, then you now begin to increase the price gradually, till it now measures up to what you want it to be. And sometimes if your service is even better than the people who are already in the market, you can even increase it beyond what they were charging us at the time you got into the market. So it's for new businesses entering into a new market, or you want to break into an existent market where there are established players. There's premium pricing. Premium pricing we are all familiar with. We know that a Gucci bag, I don't know how much for the ladies in the house that carry them. I don't know how much, but I know you hear people talking about $6,000, $10,000 for handbag, right? Meanwhile, some people are buying 6,000 naira for handbag. But what is it? It's premium pricing. And why is it, you know, priced like that? Because the people who are selling it have a brand. They've built a brand. So once you see Gucci on anything, you know that that thing is quality. Once you see Prada, you know it's quality. Even if it is the fake, you ascribe all the glory to that product because it's bearing that name. Once you see a Mercedes Benz, you believe that whoever is driving it has money, even if the person used his last money to buy it. Why? Because it is premiumly priced. A Jaguar, I saw one advert on the Lekki roundabout. They said it is cheap at 12 million naira or something. You know, is it 12 million or 21 million naira or something? They said they were advertising that this is a cheap Jaguar, you know, at that price, you know. So it's successful when you have a good brand perception and awareness has been built. If you don't have that and you say you want to price luxury, except if people now use the product and they see that it is good, that is when they'll do. But most likely you might not sell if all those other things, the perception and the awareness is not there. So there's decoy premium pricing. Now, what is that? If you own a store and you put a product that looks exactly like another brand, but this one you say is 20,000 naira and this one is 12,000 naira, and those are like the two primary products you have, nobody's going to really, hello? Okay. Okay, nobody's really going to argue with you. They will look at it and say, please, what's the difference? When you say there's no difference, which one will they go for? They'll go for the 12,000 naira, right? So some people use that as a strategy to divert customers to buy a particular one by stocking something that is similar, give it a different brand name, just tweak one or two things that are not really essential and put it high. So once people see that, they would automatically go in the direction that you want them to go, to the cheaper thing. So you can do your products or service. Some people do it. You go somewhere, for instance, like maybe you want to go and send the package. They'll tell you if you're going to do a bill, it's 3K. Then the people there will call you out and say, okay, come, and we can sell it for you. We'll send it for 1.5. We'll give the driver, don't worry, take my number. You know, that's like a pricing strategy. So it can be done by the same people or you using a competitor product as the decoy. All right. So project-based pricing, unlike the rate pricing where you charge per hour and all that, this one you charge a ballpark figure. I would normally encourage people to do that because you're able to factor in a lot of things and charge a premium, you know, based on that. So you say, okay, Oga, for this project, we are going to do it this amount. So you find people like interior decorators and all that. Instead of saying, we'll buy curtains, 500, we'll buy this one, labor, that. They'll say, Oga, this whole project, we'll do it for you for 10 million naira. And you dazzle them with good, you know, samples and all that and make them feel they're going to get a good deal. And you're able to sell it for 10 million as against that rate pricing where you're calculating the rate of everything and adding it up. So project-based pricing is good. And you find out that most of these successful consultants, freelancers, or contractors, that is what they used. So the earning possibility here is limitless, right? Value-based pricing. So value-based pricing is based on the perceived value that customers have of your product. So you go to some websites and they'll tell you, like Guardian, I think Guardian, they'll tell you, we do quality reporting for free, but you can, you know, send us a token or how much, whatever you want to give. There's a there's an app I use for logos. It's free. It's free. That's what they said. But when I was using it, I said, would you consider buying us a cup of coffee because we see you're using our product? Well, that means we did something right. Buy us a cup of coffee. Then that notification kept popping up till I couldn't use the app again until I bought them a cup of coffee. You understand? So that's like value-based pricing. You can send them however much you want. And the goal here is to build customer loyalty. You know, it's not like they're squeezing it from you or you feel like it's overpriced. No, how much do you want to pay? Pay us. But in some instances, to cover minimum cost per user, they'll tell you, you can know, but at least just make sure that it's not less than $1. Meanwhile, that product or goods or service in the market might be going for, you know, $5. All right, so it's good for products, services, events, and all that. All right. So the important thing that you have to note when you are considering other strategies, but I'll just leave it at this, you know, for now. And as we discuss, I'm sure we would touch on other things. The important things that you need to notice that you can use a combination of these strategies, right? Whatever you use, whatever pricing strategy you use, it must tie to your primary objective, your strategic objective. It must be able to get you to where you want to be in your long-term plan. So you need to know that it doesn't have to be one over your product life cycle. No, it can be varied. All right. And for though I've said it and I'll say it again, brand building is like the surest way that you can use to comfortably increase your prices, and keep them up there without people questioning you. So if somebody knows that anytime I go to Mr. Dan's photo studio, I will get quality images, there's no hit or miss, then you can charge like ×3 of what everybody is charging. And people will come to you because they know that. So imagine you want to do a photo shoot. You hire a hairstylist, a makeup artist, a stylist who will provide you with clothes. You rent a studio space and everything and you shoot. And at the end of the day, the pictures come out crappy because the photographer didn't know what he was doing. You've lost a lot of money. But if somebody tells you, I'll charge ×2, but you're 100% guaranteed that you get quality, you definitely will go with that person. All right, so very briefly, we'll just talk about costing. There's no how you can price if the price that you're even doing is less than the cost of those materials. So for us to successfully price, we must know what all our costs items are and take them into consideration. And then that will be the starting point, the benchmark from which we would climb. So I'm just going to talk through it. I'm not going to use the slides for this. When you're doing a business, you must know what your costs are, right? So for those of you who are doing, let me use my own industry, for instance, of photography. For the photographer, most times you just think, okay, what's my cost? My cost is the cost of doing an album and the batteries I use to shoot and transportation cost. Yes, that's what you think. But your cost goes far beyond that. You bought the camera that you're going to use. You bought the lens you're going to use, the flash and all that. Those things are not going to remain forever. After a while, they will depreciate and you have to replace them. So you have to factor in the life cycle of your equipment and how much of it is dying as you use it per time, and calculate that into your price. You that you're shooting the pictures, you need to pay yourself. So how much is your time worth? You need to calculate that. When you are talking with the client, you didn't use free phone call to follow up to tell them, okay, this is how much it's going to cost. You paid for it. When you are sending them quotes, you use data, right? When you're going to edit those pictures, you're going to do it on a system. The laptop doesn't have an infinite life. You're going to use electricity. You're going to use internet to send them their pictures. You're going to transport to go and print the album, to drop it, transport to go and pick it, transport to go and drop it. When you get to the gate, you will you will call them or you use a delivery company. You need to take into consideration all those things. If you're going to write proposals or you're using a software that, they are the variable costs, but there's also the fixed costs. Those are the costs that whether you sell or you don't sell, you are incurring those costs like rent, electricity bill, salaries of your staff and all that. So all those things you have to take into consideration before you can even begin to talk about setting your prices. If not, if you just do the basic fundamentals, you will realize that you're working so hard, but yet you're not able to do any capital project because you're barely getting by. So at this point, I will just stop, and open it up for questions. So do we have any questions, any comments?
Thank you, sir. We can take questions now, right?
Yes, please let the questions come in.
All right, great. Thanks so much. This has been a loaded session. I'm saying, wow, awesome, wonderful, all correct. Thank you so much. Please, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, it's a good time to ask. If you want to use voice, just raise your hand and we can get you to speak so that we can be orderly about it. If you want to type, you can just type in the comment section and let's discuss your question. I think these are practical things, so you can look at your business and be able to say, how do I price effectively? So, Mr. Oba, Mr. Oba wants to speak. All right, Mr. Oba, please go ahead with your question.
I'm talking too much in this show because I can relate to
No,
the man who is speaking.
There's nothing like that. Please
Ross.
ask.
There's nothing like that. Talk.
Okay, I think what I want to ask is where does the customer, let's say you're a photographer, you want to bill, where does the customer come in here in terms of doing your costs? Where does the customer come in? Some people want very good quality and they want you to work for them, but they can't really pay that premium. They insist on you working for them, but they can't pay that premium. What do you do?
So first of all, is it that they are not willing to pay it now because they are not convinced about the value you bring to the table? So do they have the capacity to pay, or they don't have the capacity to pay? Those are two different things you have to look at. So if they have the capacity to pay, but they are reluctant because they don't see the value in it, then you can go ahead and do it for them. Try and beat up the price a bit higher so that they taste and see that the Lord is good. You understand? When they taste and they see, then they now understand and they become converted. So that has really worked for me. If you notice, most times, sometimes people, like all these activations, they will give you a small bottle of perfume free. You spray it and everybody's like, this perfume is smelling nice. So you're smelling nice, smelling nice. When it finishes, you go and look for the full product. Do you understand? Even though it may be above your pay grade, you look for it. Do you get? So that should be the question that you ask. It might be less, yes, I'm doing it. But in the course of doing it, some people think that taking pictures is just coming with camera, with flash and just snapping. But when you have a photo session and you arrive with a truckload of background stand, backgrounds, studio lights, soft boxes, umbrellas, tripod, this one, that one, everything, computer, you set up and you're snapping, they'll be like, oh, no wonder this man said it's high. When you spend 20 minutes trying to get one picture, bend their head like this, and they can see the difference and the progression from when they started to the final picture, the next time you charge them, they will not argue with you. All right, so I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, yes, thanks.
Okay.
All right, we have questions in the chat box.
Okay.
CM is asking, how do I comfortably charge premium for what someone else prices cheaper for without allowing people make me feel I cheated them?
Okay, so the truth is, it will be difficult for you to charge premium if there is nothing premium or extra on what you're selling. So if, for instance, like I said, pure water is 5 naira, everybody's going to, what's the difference in your own pure water? What's the difference? If there's no difference, then it will be difficult for you to charge. If you charge anything more than that, people are going to say that you are cheating them, and that's the truth. You understand? Because they have the rights to feel that way. But if in your own pure water, you now decide to say, okay, maybe my is alkaline water, and the benefits of alkaline is when you drink it, it lowers your pH value. So if you take any medicine or anything within that period, it's going to, then you can charge extra for that. But in the absence of that, no, there's nothing you can charge. If you're selling a product that if they buy that product, it gives them access to a particular service for free. If the service is valued at a particular amount and you charge that extra but a bit less in your product, fine. So you have to look for what it is that you can do to add value that would differentiate you from what the other people are selling. It might be you just increase, maybe put an extra ingredient in your product that does something extra that other one does not do. And based on that, you charge more. So that is so if people say you're cheating me, you say, no, Oga, I'm not cheating you. This person's own does 1, 2, 3. My own does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they will now ask themselves that question, do I need 5, 6, 7? Yes, I do. Good, we're in business. Otherwise, I don't need it. I'll go and stick with the cheaper products. All right. I hope that answers it.
All right. The next question says, thank you. Next question says, from Adebukola.
Theory.
Says for a new product that competition is not local, is it okay to benchmark
Okay.
the international price in local markets?
Sorry. It's Osakpa Milori. Please, can you say it again? Can you ask the question again?
For a new product that competition is not local, is it okay
So
to
sorry, when they say
price?
competition is not local, there's competition, but the competition is not within our
Yeah, exactly.
market.
So
Okay.
yeah, so maybe the products you are competing with is from maybe the US or from UK or something. So is it not
Okay.
okay to benchmark against that the international price in your own local markets, since you are producing yours in locally, as the case is?
There's nothing wrong, as long as the quality of what you are offering, or as long as your brand is strong, you can benchmark. You can even charge more. So, for instance, there is, I think, electrical cables. They'll tell you this one is Nigerian, and because it's Nigerian, they charge higher for it, because those ones have been able to establish a quality and a brand that people know. They'll tell you this one is from China or this one is Korea, and those ones are cheaper. So there's nothing wrong. Now, one thing we must understand is if you're going to charge premium for a product, you must deliver premium. If you're going to charge premium, you must deliver premium. You can't reap where you've not sown, right? Gucci, that is charging premium, when you buy their bag, you yourself, you will know that you bought a bag. For those of us who have driven in a Benz or own a Benz, you will know the difference between Benz and Toyota. And that is why their prices are not age mates, right? So it's important that whatever it is that you are, whatever strategy you decide to go with, you must fulfill the requirements of that strategy. So if it is local, charge. You understand? As long as you know that the quality of your product can go toe to toe with the foreign one. I hope that answers it.
All right, thank you. Not age mate at all, have you? So I have someone raising up a hand here, Adeshola Aladis Shawe.
Okay. Hi,
So
Darren.
I'm
Good to
going to
see
unmute
you.
you now. All right, please go
Okay,
ahead.
please go ahead.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for the session. It's been really eye-opening. Now, I have two questions. One
Okay.
is flowing from the comments that you gave to the person who asked the first question. And the comment,
Okay.
that I'm referring to was where, he asked that, how do you, for a client who insists on you, how do you charge a premium which they don't want to pay? And you said, is it that they do not have the capacity to pay your premium price, or is it that they're not sure of the value? So you answered based on the second. What if it's the first? What if they're a startup, they insist on you because they have seen your work and they see the premium value that you bring on board, and they really, really, really do want your service, but somehow they can't pay your pricing, but they are really, really insistent, and you don't want to bring down your pricing because you don't want to be underpriced. How do you navigate that? That's the first question. The second is that I have heard that negotiation is a game of the mind. So do you have tips? How can someone properly, like for me personally, I would really like to know how I can navigate that world of negotiation and probably come out better and have better deals when I'm negotiating with a client. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have tips. Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with the second one. Negotiation is like a whole kettle of fish. It's going to be difficult to see because it's broad. First of all, there's the psychology of it, right? When you're negotiating, there's the psychology. So you play things. So for instance, there are things like maybe you go somewhere and they'll peg you at a price. They might throw a price down so that whatever you do, that discussion, even if you're going to go high or low, it's that price. That is a strategy. So if we're going to talk about negotiations, we'll have to look at all those kind of things that it will help. So maybe, I don't know, Wale, is there a plan to treat negotiation in this training?
I think it's. I think there's a plan for it. I think it's something that will feature down the line. Wale,
okay.
I can't. I think he's a bit off. I don't know. Once he gets back, though.
Okay. 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 All right. So negotiation is a whole ball game, right? But the things I'll just say is, first of all, whenever you are negotiating, you must be very confident, because a lot of people, particularly those people who are experienced and are negotiating with you, they are reading off your body language. So for instance, they ask you how much is your price, and you first look to the left before you mention the price. Or when you're mentioning the price, you can't look them in the face. They know that you're not confident about what you're saying. And based on that, they would start haggling. They will first slam you down. So you ask for 10,000, they'll tell you 1,000. You know, but if you look them in the eyes and you tell them, and your voice is not shaking, right? Then you can, you know, they will be like, auntie. They know that, okay, that is probably how much she truly charges. And you find out that when they are pricing you, they don't go maybe below 8K, 9K. You understand? So that's like one thing that I can say. You must be confident about what you are selling, because people are not just buying the product, they are buying you. They are buying your confidence. When you go to the market to buy something and somebody is standing behind this product and is boasting about it, in your mind, you're like, okay, it's like this person is confident about what he's selling. It's like he really knows. You understand? And based on that, you pay. Even though you get back home and you find out that everything is hogwash, you know, but it's their confidence that you bought. That's what you paid for, really not, at that point in time, really not the product. If you go home and you're lucky, fine. You know, if you're not, then unfortunately, you've been swindled. Have you been hit? So the second thing you talked about is if the person is not able to afford you. Now, there are many times that happens, but you have to look at it. Look on a long-term, medium to long-term basis. A company might just be starting. They are having challenges, you know, meeting their numbers, high costs and all that, but they need your service to get them to the next level. So what are you going to do? You negotiate with them and like enter into some kind of partnership relationship. So there are certain people who start, and I know that these people, they can't afford me at this point in time, but I look at their product, I look at their service, I look at the way they are structured. I know that these people are going far. So what do? We work with them. Okay, how much do you guys have? No problem. This will be for transport. That's not my fee. I'm doing it for you free, but just pay for my transport. Even though, I mean, the transport might be 20K, while you only need to, you know, 100 naira fuel to get there. I'll be 1,000 naira fuel to get there. But you term it as that. So they keep appreciating you, but the more they grow, you know, if there are people that are not, you know, useless people, they know that, okay, this person has been with us. Before it was difficult, but now, and you make a request and they say that, okay, truly we can afford it now, they would up. You get? And apart from that, if it is something that you can leverage on, for instance, if it is a very good quality bag, you've not done bag shoots before, you decide, okay, let me work with these people so that you can build a bag portfolio. They will give you more freeway to do whatever you want to do because they know they are not paying you, right? So it will give you an opportunity to express yourself. And that picture now, you can use it as a portfolio in the future. So if you're a makeup artist, if you're a client delivery person, you know, maybe a consultant, yes, you can work with those people. If they can't even pay you anything, fine. But as long as you know that your heart is there, you do it. When you put together your portfolio, it's easy for you to point to them as, you know, one of your clients, one of the success stories. Nobody will know that you did not collect money from them. So, I mean, if you open my portfolio now and you see pictures of celebrities, you don't know how much I charged. You don't know whether it was free, I did it. You don't know whether I even paid them to do the shoot for them. But once you see the portfolio, you see, this guy is only big people he photographs. So, you understand? So look at it, think long term, talk with them, get a feel of what they're offering. Feel that, you know, is worth you and there'll be an alignment for the short, medium, and long term. Go ahead. If you feel that these people are just, they're out to use you and jump onto the next train, then there's no need of going on with it. So I don't know if I answered your question. Please let me know.
All right, thank you. Additional, do you want to confirm if?
Oh, yes.
All right,
He
great.
answered. Great. Thank you.
Okay, I think
Okay.
that's like the last question we have. All right, great, awesome. Okay, I think that will be it for tonight. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey tonight. I know, I'm sure on learning and relearning in many ways for many people. For every one of us, I believe that we have taken some important tips to apply in our businesses and to begin to get more value for the things that we offer in the marketplace. I think that's it tonight. Next week we're talking about understanding your channels. Right? We all have different customers, and it's important to know the right channels to meet these people. Sometimes you're selling something and you're on Instagram, but your audience is on Facebook. Sometimes you're selling something, you're on Twitter, but your audience are simply in the street. They're not even on Twitter. So how do we ensure that you are meeting your audience where they are and you're able to get value from them? That's very important. So we're talking about that next week. Channels, understanding your customer journey, and understanding where to meet your customers. So get ready for an exciting session as well next week. I think it's let me say tonight. So get ready to the quiz for this will be up maybe by tomorrow. So please look out for that in the Google Classroom. It's been an exciting session. I think have a lovely night. I don't know if Sam wants to add a thought or two as we bring this to a close. Sam, are you there?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I've been at the sideline listening in. Well done, Deji. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I think while there was a question about negotiation and what the plan was for negotiation, because it seems negotiation is going to be a crucial part of pricing as well. I think that probably is something that should feature as well, because it's important for you to price well, so you'll be able to negotiate when it comes to dealing with some people. I think it's been exciting tonight. We've already gone a lot way over the runway, so we will not be doing the discussion about tonight. I think it's very much value for money. We'll put it online so that you can listen to it again, and then the quiz will be done, and then we can ensure that we're basically passing along and getting it all done. Thanks everyone for attending. I can see that some people dropped off somewhere along the line, maybe because of the connections and all that. But for all of those who are in throughout, well done. The link will be made available so that everybody can go through it. Well done, everybody. Have a good night rest.